what should I sell? So I did a podcast all about this. I'm going to be like talking about some of the same points, but also I'm going to kind of add some more different ones in there. So hands up, and I'd love to know, hands up who, when they first started out, or maybe that's you now, you are not sure what to sell. Or maybe you've like, oh, I like to do 2 or 3 different things, but I'm not sure which one I should do. Or maybe you started to sell one particular thing and then you discovered, I don't know, I'm not really feeling it anymore. I'm not really sure whether I can carry on doing this particular product, or all this kind of stuff, right? Let me know, because I know that, oh my God, I've second guessed myself so many times. So if this is you, like, you're not alone. I have second guessed myself a lot of times. A lot of the shops that I've seen that are being closed down, and a lot of the comments, a lot of the DMs, a lot of the emails, because obviously, like, you guys don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I get a lot of emails, a lot of DMs, a lot of comments from people who are like, my shop's been closed down. I would honestly say about 95% of these shops are print on demand shops that are using mock-ups. They are not really loving mock-ups right now. And actually, I put a post in the alumni group in the HBSA group Friday, where Etsy has sort of changed the wording of the policy. So what it says now is listing photos should be of the finished product made by you. Different handmade techniques produce different results. It's important that your images accurately reflect the product that a buyer will receive. Mock-ups may be used for digital items, digital products, because they correctly depict the item. So they've kind of directly called out mock-ups there, where they've pretty much said that they are not really loving mock-ups. So if you are using them, I would strongly recommend, because it's not just this, right? We've seen for a long time that listings that do use mock-ups, buyers are getting extremely savvy now. They know it's a mock-up. They've seen it over and over. You know, they know it's not the actual item. And B is that I personally think that they don't get a lot of conversions, a lot of clicks, because people see the same image over and over again, especially if you're buying mock-ups from like Creative Fabrica, from this, from that. You do see a lot of the same kind of mock-up over and over again. I think a really good thing that you could do is to really look at the process and ask yourself, do I hand make these products? Am I really creating something? So if Etsy was to come up to me and say, do you make your own products? Because that used to be what they did back in the day, and it always worked really well. Where if they were like a little bit sus, they'd be like, right, we need you to show us pictures of your workspace, how you create your items, evidence that that's what you do. I don't know if they still do that. I don't think they do. I haven't heard of anyone being told that. But I'm wondering if, because they're like, we want to go back to our handmade roots, I wonder if they might start bringing that in again. Who knows? Just because you use mock-ups doesn't mean it's like raw, you know, it doesn't mean you should panic. But I would, because personally, I've seen a massive reduction in the amount of clicks, conversions from mock-ups. So even if you hadn't heard of this Etsy thing and what they've said and all this, I would actually still be considering moving away from them, just because they are shown not to work as well. And I will keep you up to date if I see anything else, you know. So that was from Etsy's Q1 finance report. Maybe Q2, which is only in a couple of months' time, they might come out and say something different. They might come out and say, right, this is what we've done. But it does make sense with their gift mode thing, with their getting back to their roots thing. I think a lot of people are going to be really happy about Etsy going back to what it was in 2015, 2016, 2018. Which are widely considered like the golden years. And it seems like they are going back that way, because for the longest time, they've been trying to Amazonify themselves. They've been trying to compete with, oh God, lots of different things that Amazon do. From my point of view, my opinion is that they've kind of looked at that now and gone, we're just not. We're gonna try and do something else. We're going to try and get back to our own USP, our own, what makes us, you know, unique. And that is not images of the same mock-up being used over and over again, you know, the same products coming up over and over again. You know, today really wanted to talk about what to sell on Etsy. The first thing that I think when you're looking at your product catalog, right, you're kind of like looking at all these things and you're thinking, oh, I've got so many things that I make and I really want to try and cut that down and really kind of hone in on scaling. And I think that this is a massive question that comes up when you first start your shop and when you're ready to scale, because there's always this, like, you start off, you do this product and then that and then this and that, and you get to a point where you're like, I'm not making profit because I'm making so many different things and selling so many different things that I don't know what my focus is. And then you get to this point when you're like asking yourself, okay, what should I focus in on? What should I sell? And really the number one question should be, what is profitable? You know, that's a massive question. If you sell crochet cuddly toys and you're not making hardly anything on them, but instead you make crochet earrings and you're like, you know what, I'm making a lot more on them, and you're like, which one should I do? Like, that should be a massive consideration at the very least, because you're making more profit on the earrings than you are the cuddly toys. Cuddly toys you could make as a hobby for your nieces, nephews, whatever. But really look at, okay, what am I making the most profit on here? If you're at the beginning of your journey and you're like, right, I have this idea, I have that idea, I have this idea, look at which one is going to produce the most profit sooner. So, like, let's say, for example, you're like, okay, I have a jewelry shop and I need to get this supply, this machinery, that's going to be like $5,000 versus creating, I don't know, glass engraved mugs that you hand engrave, but all you need is like a, I know, £50 hand engraver, then you're up and running. Look at the startup costs as well. The second thing that I would always say is make sure that it is things that you can make over and 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 over again. Because I see people that get really excited about a business idea, and then they like make like 2 or 3 or 4, maybe like 10, 20, 30, you know, things, copies, let's say, of that particular product. And then they get sick of it, or their hands start to hurt, or they just can't look at another jewelry crochet thing, leather wallet again. They're just like, oh, I'm so done. So make sure that it is something that you can make over and 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 over again. I know that digital download shops are like, I don't have to do that. I make it once, rack it up, and I'm done. But even still, like, we know that with downloadable shops, most of the time you need more listings to compete. So there's also that side of it as well. And kind of leading off of that, my third and final point is, and again, this is something that I really see, like, especially when I work with people and we start to kind of look at, okay, how can we market? How can we bring eyeballs in? Is make sure that it is something that you can talk about for the next 5 to 10 years. Because the problem is that when we are creating content on social media, that can be reels, it can be stories, it can be whatever, you have to be so invested and passionate. And I do mean that. Like, I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart, that the shops that I see succeed over and over again, they are all passionate, deeply so, about what they do. And therefore, marketing, talking about it, creating content around that product and how it helps said target audience is easy, because they're passionate about it. Whereas if you're like a Me Too business, or a business where you're like, I thought I would just sell jewelry and I thought I would just sell this, they don't, and they can't, and they won't, because they don't have the passion behind it. And that's okay. Like, we've all been there, by the way. We've all been there. We're like, oh, I could create this and I could do this. And I've done it before. And I've started down the t-shirt shop, for one. I started down that road and I was like, yeah. And I started to sell a few and I was like, I mean, the shop's doing well, but I'm just like so done with it. I'm not really all in with it. I don't really kind of, sounds awful, but care that much. it's not just creating the products. At some point on your business journey, you are going to have to market yourself. That's going to require passion. That's going to require you being able to talk about it and you being able to succinctly not only describe, but also sell your product. And I know that there's probably some of you watching right now that are like, Steph, I just wanted to throw up an Etsy shop and put my things on there and let Etsy deal with driving the traffic. I'm going to be honest with you. And I've spoken about this in like a few lives and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be honest with you, is that is no longer enough. Yes, you can make sales. Yes, you could, do a reasonably okay turnover just by doing that. But the example being today, when I came on here and I was like, Etsy is saying that they're going to pivot towards this and that and that. How many of you are like, oh my God? And how many of you would be less like that if you were marketing your own products, you had an audience of your own that you knew you could tap into? I honestly think that like this time, well, to be honest, I think it's happening now, is that we all need, in a nutshell, to get really, really good at driving our own traffic, at marketing our own things. Yes, Etsy does bring you traffic. And that's what we pay our fees for at the end of the day. Etsy does bring us traffic. And yes, you can have a standout business just on Etsy alone. But you have to keep really up to date. You have to be on the ball. You have to be changing things. You have to have your fingers, I should say, well and truly in the Etsy pie. And I really do. And I love Etsy because it is an amazing place to find the traffic. And not only that, but it's warm traffic. People are going onto Etsy to search for something to buy. They're not doing that when they're scrolling on Facebook. They might see a post from you, a story from you, a reel from you, or an ad from you. They're not in that headspace. And therefore, I think we've just got to get a lot better at having this two-pronged approach. The Listathon challenge is coming up, and it's coming up in less than a month. So the 3rd of June, the Listathon challenge is coming up. So if you have a QR code scanner, if you're watching this on your laptop, iPad, whatever, if you scan that code, or go to handmadebosses.com/listathon, completely free challenge that is running from the 3rd of June. And there's 5 lives. Okay, there's 4, but there's 5. And basically, I'm going to be teaching you how to not only make sure that your Etsy is driving you traffic, but also we're gonna make sure that we're going to teach you how to market. That is where we're going to be really kind of honing in on how to list items the right way, how Etsy has changed and how you should be looking at listing your items differently. And also on day 4 is going to be how to drive your own traffic in a simple and easy way. So if you want to enter in for a chance to potentially win a scholarship to the HBSA,